Hey booklies, I'm Brianna and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so I started back to work in July, and because of that I haven't had quite as much reading time. So I decided to go ahead and combine my July wrap up and my August TBR into one video. So I have several books to talk to you about. I'm going to start with the very first book that I read in July, and I actually don't have that physical copy with me because I actually borrowed it from my own library at school, and it was Everything on a Waffle. And this book is a book that I read or had read to me when I was in elementary school, and I did a review for this book on Goodreads. If you're interested, I'll drop the link below in the description so that you can check out that review. But this book, I wanted to read it because I remembered having such fond memories about this book when it was read to me in elementary school. I didn't really remember much of it other than just the enjoyment that I felt after having it read to me. So I wanted to revisit that as an adult when I was browsing the shelves at work in my library and I came across that book. I just immediately wanted to reread it and to see if I could kind of re-experience the joy that I had from reading that book. And I'm going to be honest with you, I did not have the same feelings about it as an adult as I did as a kid. And I kind of feel like maybe I should have just left it alone and not reread it because of that. Because I feel like it kind of ruined the feelings that I had about it as a kid. Now I do remember, and as I read it again, there were some quirky parts to it that I did enjoy. It wasn't that the whole book was dreadful. It wasn't. It just wasn't as exciting for me as an adult. One thing that I absolutely still adore about the book is that in the book there's a restaurant, and at the restaurant everything is served on a waffle, and that is kind of where the title of the book comes from. And I was explaining this to one of my classes the other day, and they were just naming off foods. So this is served on a waffle. So grilled chicken served on a waffle. Yes, in that restaurant, grilled chicken served on a waffle. Spaghetti was served on a waffle. And they said, well, what about waffles? They were served on waffles too. So that was just interesting. And the owner of that restaurant, she's a really interesting character that I enjoyed too. But overall, I just felt like, it was a shorter book. I just didn't feel like it was very eventful. Even though it was kind of a short book and should have been a really quick read for me, I think, I pushed through it because I wanted to finish it, but it was kind of boring and it was kind of hard for me to stick with it and finish. So, I'm going to say out of 5 stars, I would give that one a 3. I think that's what I gave it on Goodreads too. Just because I know that I enjoyed it as a kid, and for a child, I definitely think that it would be much more of a fun story for them, more relatable for them, but as an adult I just did not find it as enjoyable. The second book that I read in July was Seasons of the Storm by Elle Cosimano, and so this book was the featured book in the June Beacon book box, and I was super excited about this book. When I received it, I read the blurb and it just hooked me from the very beginning. So I could not wait to read that book. So I read it and I did really enjoy it. I would rate this a 5 out of 5. I know that there are some people who had some issues with it after reading some of the reviews, but I absolutely loved it. I really got involved with the characters. I just loved the story. It was just very different than any other book or story that I've read, and for me that was really refreshing because I feel like a lot of YA fantasy books are kind of the same plot or the same setting, the same elements kind of over and over and over again. So it was just nice to have something that is so new and so different. But just to give you a little bit of the synopsis, so our main characters are Jack and Fleur, and they are seasoned. So something happened to them during their life, and they were given the choice between dying or living on as a season, but in order for their season, and Jack is a winter, Fleur is a spring, but in order for their seasons to change, they have to kill the season that comes before them. And as you can see, that could be a little bit of an issue if you get attached to the people who you are supposed to be killing. And that's kind of what happened in that story. So Jack ends up falling for Fleur and vice versa. And since Fleur is the spring, she has to kill Jack every year in order for her season to take place. So that's just kind of causes a dilemma for them. And the book is really about how they can break the cycle that they are stuck in of the seasons changing and killing each other, and if they can come up with a plot to escape from that so that they can live together. And there's lots of magic powers. There's two other characters that are the seasons in the location they are, and that's Amber, who is the autumn, and Julio, who is the summer. And their dynamic is really interesting too. I think all four of those characters were very well developed and just makes you want to get to know them more. So yes, I really enjoyed that book. I would give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I would definitely recommend that you read it. So yeah, that one was really enjoyable. So the last book that I started reading in July, this is going to be the last book of my July wrap up, but it's also the first book of my August TBR because it is August 2nd as I'm recording this video. And I'm still not finished with it. Because of work starting and not having as much time to read, which makes my heart very sad. But that book is Caraval, and this is a book that I've had since March. My husband bought it for me while we were on vacation in Tennessee before all of the coronavirus got a little crazy, before that stuff got crazy. And this is a book that had been continually coming up on Bookstagram and BookTube, the videos that I was watching, and I was hearing a lot of really great things about it. Just the idea that it is around a game or like a carnival, which Caraval kind of sounds like carnival, just really intrigued me. So I was excited when I saw this book in the bookstore when we were on vacation, I just had to get it. But it's been sitting on my shelf because I've had so many other really great books to read. So I will give you a little update. I am on chapter 22, which is just the beginning of day 4 of Caraval. And it looks like it's page 221. So I'm about halfway through the story. And something major actually just happened this morning when I was reading this book. And I just my jaw just dropped, and I just had to close the book and just kind of take a second because it was just a major bombshell. It's something that I was not expecting at all until I got to the chapter where it happened. So I just love books like that have twists and turns. And I will say the very beginning, kind of the first probably 75 pages, it was a little dull for me. I had a really hard time just kind of getting through it. But now it's really picking up and I'm really loving it. And I'm fascinated by the character of Legend, and that we really just getting to know who he is. He's so mysterious, and he's such a big part of the story, and yet we hadn't really seen him. So that was just fascinating to me, and because he's so mysterious, I definitely want to know more about him, and I hope that the rest of the book we learn more about Legend, this Caraval master. And so it's been really good. I'm really excited I'm looking forward to finishing it and finding out what happens to Scarlet and Tella if she ever gets to find her sister. That is the main question right now. All right, so moving on. I just opened my July Beacon book box, and I did an unboxing video, which you'll be able to find here if you want to check that out. But the book that was featured in that box was Splinters of Scarlet by Emily Bain Murphy. And I am including this on my TBR. I hope to read it after Caraval, but I'm quite a mood reader. TBRs are kind of hard for me to stick with, and I'll explain that with the next book a little bit more. But I put this in my TBR. I like to try to keep up with the books that are in my book boxes, This one, I even said in the video where I was unboxing it that it would not necessarily have been a book that I probably would have picked up at the store for myself to read, but it does sound fascinating, and I think the thing that intrigues me the most is that it is inspired by Frozen. And I have two little girls that absolutely adore Frozen. I've seen it a million times. I was teaching fourth grade, or I was student teaching in fourth grade when that movie came out, and I just remember all of the girls at school were singing the songs, and I hadn't seen it yet, so I had to because they were talking about it all the time, and so to connect with them I did, and I ended up loving Frozen, but it definitely got tiring after a while just because of how popular it was. But even reading the author letter that was inside of this book, in the Beacon book box, the author talked about how she was on vacation and her daughter, I'm assuming it was her daughter, was watching Frozen on repeat, and a combination of that and her going to see ballets and like all of these things just kind of came together, and that's how she was inspired to write this story. So I find it interesting. There's a little magic in it, and there's some dynamics between two sisters. It's about their relationship. So yeah, I think it'll be a good book. I'm looking forward to reading it, and I hope that it is more than what I anticipate, since it would not normally be a book that I would pick up. So I can't say I'm super excited to read it as I was Seasons of the Storm, because that one just really hooked me. This one I'm just like, but I'm definitely gonna give it a try and see what I think about it. So I may have to do a reading vlog or an update on that one after I finish it. And then my last book, I'm not doing a super ambitious TBR for August just because school and work for me just kind of did start, and I don't really know how demanding that's going to be and if I'm going to have much time to read. But the last book that I picked to put on my TBR for this month is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. And this is a book that's been on kind of my extended TBR for a really long time. It's been sitting on my shelf for a really long time. But I've been really into true crime TV shows lately. And every now and then I love to pick crime, thriller, procedural type book. I'm just fascinated by that. I don't know why. It's just me. It's just something that I like. So yeah, that's why this one's on my TBR, because I feel like I've just been reading so much fantasy. I need to take a little step away, take a little break, and read something different kind of in between that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. I think it'll be good. I was reading the blurb the other day. I know a lot of people have read this. I posted a post on my Bookstagram just a few days ago about this book and how excited I was to read it. I read the blurb and it just sounds fascinating. It sounds like something up my alley. I love cliffhanger books and books that just have me on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I'm trying to figure out like who did it and what all the details of things are, and I feel like this is a book that'll have me kind of on the edge of my seat and thinking about those things, and it'll have my brain going. So that is the last book that is on my TBR. If you've read any of the books that I read in July and you want to share your thoughts on that with me, definitely drop a comment below. Or if you have read one of the books that is on my August TBR and want to give me kind of a spoiler-free, give me your spoiler-free opinion about that book, you can definitely drop that in the comments below. But yeah, so if you want to join my small community of booklies, which are bookworms and those who love everything bookish as I do, definitely like this video and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so that you'll be notified when I upload other videos. But I thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!